what's really beautiful and what makes hydrogen wonderful is its signal modulation and enzyme action. But hydrogen doesn't do any heavy lifting on its own. It's all second messengers, because hydrogen gives direction to NRF1, NRF2, SIRT1, telomerase activity. We start looking at all the antioxidant pathways that hydrogen functions on, and the fact that hydrogen signals ghrelin secretions to go to the brain, so you have more brain function. So you also have major energy production because you stop hydroxyl radicals from forming in the mitochondrial respiratory chain.
Welcome to the Peptides and Longevity podcast. Each week, we'll dive into groundbreaking science, innovative therapies, and the future of health and longevity. Alongside visionary physicians and experts, we'll explore how peptides, cutting-edge medicine, and lifestyle strategies can redefine the way we age. Get ready to transform your health, optimize your vitality, and unlock the secrets to a longer, healthier life. Let's get started.
Hello, it's Dr. Ken Holtorf with another episode of the Peptide Summit. And today we have a treat. We have Paul Barattiero, who is founder and CEO of Synergy Science. Paul's been a pioneer and leader in the hydrogen water industry for 15 years. And I really think you'll find a lot of great information. And I take, the hydrogen pills, and just speaking before our interview, I learned so much. He's a brilliant guy, and I think you'll learn, why the heck, are people using this hydrogen water? And kind of what I thought it was doing is I learned wasn't really what it was doing. But so he's a wealth of knowledge. He has labored to bring the most cutting-edge, science-based natural healing technologies to facilitate detoxification, gut recovery, reduce oxidative stress, and inflammation, of course, and as well as protection from EMFs, which, I kind of thought a number of years ago, how bad can EMFs be? And then I started looking into the studies, and I'm like, how can this be out still, So those are very important as well, and I'm sure we'll get into that. You can find him featured in numerous shows and documentaries. He's co-authored a number of books, and he lives with his family in Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome. Thank you so much for being on. And I think this is a topic that it's one of those things I kind of hear, Ray is good for you, and made sense to me. And I've been using the tablets, and now I've learned way more than I ever thought I knew. Even after going to other lectures, within 10 minutes, I learned more from you. So I guess let's say, what is, or how did you get into the hydrogen water business?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was really many years ago, right after 9/11. My wife was not doing well. She had thyroid issues, menstrual cycle issues. She had anemia, pretty severe. There were just issues. We were married about 10 years at that time. Now it's 27 years, but I wanted to help her. And at the time I was working with individuals with diabetes, patients with diabetes and what have you. And I was trying to prevent decubitus ulcers and helping them in that way. And through helping my wife with her anemia and normalizing her menstrual cycle in a matter of a few months, I was like, holy cow, I need to share this with the world. And that's really what happened. I was searching for ways to help her. And once I had helped her, I thought of all the other millions of people that could be helped. And so I started giving the water to some of the patients with diabetes. And within 3 to 5 days, their blood glucose levels were normalizing. And I was like, holy cow.
3 to 5 days.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
You better not say that too loud. You're going to end up missing.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have some great studies on lipid and glucose metabolism and how hydrogen affects lipid and glucose metabolism. And in these studies, these double-blind studies, 80% of the individuals in these with either IGT or impaired glucose tolerance, as well as type 2 diabetes mellitus, were normalized in this 8-week study. And I was finding the same things before the study was out. I was finding the same things. So the bottom line is diabetes is not terribly difficult, especially type 2, to modulate that or to help that. But this is how I got started, is helping my sweetheart, my queen.
And
And
so many
then,
people get into this alternative space. Their doctors don't help,
yep,
and you really took it upon yourself to
yep.
get better.
Oh yeah. And it was amazing. I was learning everything I could to see what was wrong. So anyways, here we are 17 years later, and she's doing amazing, and life
Wow.
is good. So
Wow. And then, yeah, I just think of how it changed your life and her life and how many other people lives you've changed, which you don't even know.
yes, yes. And once I began focusing on this, it is amazing how many people are suffering from all kinds of stuff that they don't have to be suffering from. But that's how I got started. And really it was originally getting hydrogen from the alkaline water, which is really what the deal was. I think everyone remembers when alkaline water machines were crazily popular, and I think to some people they still are. But the reality was we learned that it has nothing to do with the pH. It had everything to do with the hydrogen gas. And if we really look back at how alkaline water machines started, it started in 1800. Dr. Anthony Carlisle discovered water electrolysis because he was trying to harvest hydrogen gas. He had been at a conference in 1798 that talked about hydrogen being an antioxidant. So we have research going back very far. We have found it. And literally in world wars, they were using hydrogen for gunshot wounds. I mean, literally, if you go back and do research, this isn't new. It's just we kind of quote unquote forgot that hydrogen was an antioxidant.
Or it can't be patented, so they can make it into a drug.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So, it was in 1950 that Dr. Misha Sua in Japan began doing human trials for 15 years. From 1950 to 1965, they were using what's called a batch ionizer or a batch electrolysis unit to create water that they called at the time phenol liquid. And really, we understand now it was hydrogen gas that was in that water. And they were giving it to individuals with different disease models. And what they proved with the Japanese Ministry of Health and Welfare was that they fixed improper fermentation in the gut. So that's when these devices became medical devices in 1965, was because they proved that they fixed gut issues effectively or improper fermentation. So I, of course, learned about that and said, holy cow, this is amazing. How could that help us? So fast forward from 1965, nothing really happened until the 1980s, at which time someone woke up, read that literature and said, holy cow, let's make some machines that can produce this water and help people. And so that's how I got involved. And again, it was alkaline. Through the years, we figured out how to take the things that were responsible, which was hydrogen. That's what the mechanism of healing was hydrogen gas. But we wanted to figure out how to separate water molecules back into the gases that form them, hydrogen and oxygen, and dissolve the hydrogen gas without changing pH. And so that's what we figured out how to do. That's what the echo machines are, is hydrogen devices that don't affect pH of the water. So you don't have the Hertzheimer effects. You don't have throwing off your body chemistry from high pH. You don't mess with your stomach pH. You just get hydrogen gas to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. And you have negative ORP that will help rebuild the gut. And so that's really what we focus on.
All right, so you're diving deep into peptides and longevity on this podcast, and we're right there with you. Integrative Peptides stands out, trusted by over 10,000 doctors to deliver real results for their patients. These premium peptides are your key to unlocking vitality, recovery, and a longer, stronger life. Visit integrativepeptides.com and use the code PODLIFE for 10% off your first order. Again, integrativepeptides.com. Use the code PODLIFE for 10% off. It's time to elevate your journey, starting now.
It was amazing because I was in my head, are we talking about this, that hydrogen equals basically alkaline acidity, how much
Yeah.
Wow. So the alkaline water, and you're right when you talked about hundreds of studies on this hydrogen gas.
Thousands.
There's not much on alkaline water.
No, no. Well, there's none. There's not one single. So there are about 6 or 7 studies out of the 1,104 that in the title say alkaline water or electrolyzed reduced water. But when you actually get into the study and you look at what was responsible for the effects, it will say DH, which is dissolved hydrogen. So even in the studies where they might have been using alkaline water from machines or other ways, it's the dissolved hydrogen that was doing the work or causing the effect, or what we call the mechanism of healing. It was hydrogen gas. It never has been the pH of the water. A lot of people falsely believe that somehow if you drink a higher pH water, that's going to affect your blood pH rapidly. That's false. Never going to happen. And if it did, it would be very dangerous, because if you would drink a water of a 9 pH and somehow it would elevate your pH, if you drank a soda that was a 2.5 pH, it'd kill you on the spot. And so we just know it's not true. This is not how you affect.
Yeah, because I thought alkaline water worked like it just makes stomach more alkaline, and then the body will basically secrete, basically bicarb into the stomach, which will shoot out to make it equal alkaline in the back, or shoot out, acid in the stomach and then shoot out bicarb. But
that was definitely what was talked about 15 years ago. It's false. That's not true. What'll happen is if you were to drink a 9 pH water, 10 pH water, I hope you don't, but if you were to do that, immediately the stomach acid is going to buffer that water. There's no buffering capacity in alkaline water from an electrolysis device. Literally from a stoichiometric perspective, we did the math one time and it was 10,000 liters of a pH.
And like when you do things like that, and do people get it? That
right.
Yeah. 10,000 liters by 10,000 liters.
Right. Like you're going to drink 10,000 liters. It's like a swimming pool of water and so 10,000 liters of pH 10 water from a machine just to buffer the same amount of stomach acid as a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. That's literally, it was a quarter teaspoon of baking soda versus 10,000 liters of water from an alkaline water machine. It's just stupid to think about it. But the reality is you're not going to do that. And we know that bile is a 1.5 pH. We know that with gastric juices, you have a 4 pH. You're never going to buffer that with water that has almost.
This is going to come up at some party, and I'm going to use this line. Well, I just bought an alkaline water. I don't see as much as we used to, but
yeah.
Again, I use the hydrogen tablets than we do for those in the office. But we'll talk about that. But
yeah,
what is hydrogen water? What the heck is it?
So that's a good question, because it does confuse people, because they're like, isn't there hydrogen already in water? H2O, hello, right? The reality is no, there's not. Even though H2O, which at one point was hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, once you combine those two gases, they are now a liquid. So you have water. It's a new substance. You don't have hydrogen and oxygen functioning anymore. You have to break the bond to get them to actually function as hydrogen or oxygen. So that's what we do in our device. We have a proprietary hydrogen chamber, or module as we call it, that separates hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen we send back out to atmosphere where people can breathe it. And the H2 molecule we dissolve into the water. And that's how we do it. Now, what's very different than any other machine in the world, the electrodes are never in contact with the water you're drinking. So all the alkaline water machines, the electrodes are in contact with the water you're drinking. So you will put metals into that water because electrolysis, that's what it has.
How do you get around that?
Well, in our machine, we have 2 streams of water. And what we do that's different is we have one stream of water going into the electrolysis chamber where we're separating hydrogen and oxygen gas. Out of that chamber,
any gas can.
Yeah, so out of that chamber, we push hydrogen out a specific port, and then we mix that hydrogen gas with a second stream of purified water, and then we go through a dissolving chamber to dissolve that hydrogen gas into the water. So that's what's significantly different than any other machine in the world, because we have separated water. We've separated the electrolysis chamber from the water you're drinking. We're just harvesting the hydrogen gas, and we're sending the hydrogen gas into another stream of water that has never touched the electrodes. Now, that's one thing that makes us different. The other thing that makes us different is in our chamber, water is never in contact with the cathode. And so you can never have calcium buildup on the cathode either, because we never have water touching it. And so you're constantly dissolving, you're constantly dissolving hydrogen, because we're just getting the gas out of the water and we're sending it out a port at a specific pressure, and then it is sheared off with water going by it. And that's how our product functions. So you can use distilled water, reverse osmosis. You can use spring water. You can use any potable water source that you want in our devices, which is not true for the other machines. You cannot use distilled water or reverse osmosis because they require conductivity in the water. We do not require. Yeah, we don't. We have a totally, completely different process, and we do not require conductivity in the water.
Or can you contrast, just because we'll give ozone water to people.
Yep.
And if you mix them, would you just get?
You would have never
neutralize the ozone.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to mix ozone and hydrogen at the same time. But there's nothing wrong with ozone. It has a very short life cycle, as you know, in water. But that's a killing agent. That's an oxidizer. Hydrogen is an antioxidant or selective. So you would just do them at separate times. But there's no problem to be doing ozone treatment at the same time as hydrogen. One's an oxidizer, one's a reducer of oxidative stress. So it's totally different.
Yeah, because we'll do it the same day, but wait hours. But in between, because it's kind of strange. Ozone's kind of strange because, like, why would you want to give an oxidant? But everything.
Well, there's signal modulation with oxidizers, and there's signal modulation with hydrogen. So it's a totally different process. Having a selective antioxidant. What's really beautiful and what makes hydrogen wonderful is its signal modulation and enzyme action, but hydrogen doesn't do any heavy lifting on its own. It's all second messengers, because hydrogen gives direction to NRF1, NRF2, SIRT1, telomerase activity. We start looking at all the antioxidant pathways that hydrogen functions on, and the fact that hydrogen signals ghrelin secretions to go to the brain, so you have more brain function. So you also have major energy production because you stop hydroxyl radicals from forming in the mitochondrial respiratory chain. So there's many things that hydrogen does. And then when you get down to the building blocks, whether it's peptides or it's just the core of the body, you have carbon hydrogen chains everywhere in the body, whether it's amino acid bonds, which we call peptides, or it's all hydrogen. Everything has to function with hydrogen. And I kind of say it like, without hydrogen, nothing's going to happen. So you've got to have hydrogen. And so really why I developed this is because people have gut issues. I think we all know that. I think we hear everyone and their mother in the natural medicine industry saying gut damage, gut damage, gut damage. And we say, leaky gut, and you might think something's going down your leg or something. I don't know what that even means, leaky gut. It could be inflammatory gut, or it could be, I don't know. There's better terms than leaky gut. But the reality is, what constitutes gut damage or a dysfunctioning gut? And it's really bacteria. What we're really saying is your combination or balance of bacteria is not correct. And so what people don't understand is if they have too much anaerobic or aerobic bacteria, for example, they'll have cravings of sugar and carbs. They'll have more anxiety, depression, and the food that they'll want is based on the anaerobic bacteria, what it wants. Well, what we should only have 1 to 4% anaerobic microflora. The rest of the gut bacteria, we should only have 1 to 4 aerobic. The rest of the bacteria should be anaerobic, and that's because it will break down fiber and short chain fatty acids, meaning medium chain fatty acids.
So they just anaerobic is They don't use oxygen.
Yes, correct. So that's, in 94%, 96% should be anaerobic. The problem is if we overuse antibiotics, I'm not against antibiotics. I just think we overuse them. I think if you have a life-threatening bacterial infection, then it's a great thing to use an antibacterial or antibiotic. But if you have a virus or something else, it's not going to touch it. But what has happened is you've destroyed the electrical potential in the gastrointestinal tract tissue. And so therefore, anaerobic microflora can no longer live there. And so until you change the electrical potential of the gut tissue itself, you're never going to have the proper gut bacteria back because you've never reestablished the terrain or the microbiome.
I totally believe that. And it's like we think of the gut-brain axis, but there's also the brain-gut axis, and people do something to fix it, and it just never happens. And that's one reason why I think this is such a great combination with peptides.
Yeah.
The peptides will work on both sides. So the brain fixing the gut and the gut fixing the brain. Or now I'm just starting to picture all these, basically the molecular cascades and enzymatic cascades. And hydrogen is a signaling molecule that
That's right.
tell the body which way to go.
That's right.
And
There's 100%.
And so many people get stuck in that, that basically oxidized state, and it's sensing hydrogen, telling it which way to go. If there's enough hydrogen, it goes this way, like NAD, NADH, and
Right.
Wow.
Well, it was what, 1955 when John Shellman figured out the peptide H bonds, which is all about protein folding, right? That's all hydrogen. It's pretty difficult to.
Hydrogen bonds are key.
Yeah. So, it's fascinating. Peptides are fascinating. And you got peptides that can pretty much do anything you want them to do, right? It's amino acids. So those are building blocks and they cause things to function. And what's beautiful, as I said earlier, hydrogen doesn't do any heavy lifting, but hydrogen's like a manager or a coordinator. It's going to manage or coordinate things to happen. Over 200 biomolecules in the body have been shown to be regulated by hydrogen. So we just need hydrogen in the body because then everything works. It's when we don't have hydrogen that we have a problem. And so when we have gut damage, and whether you believe it's deliberate or not, and that's a whole nother topic, whether you believe that
they always said you're crazy a couple of years ago. Now, not said anymore.
Right, exactly. So whether you see it's deliberate with any different introduction of chemicals into the body, I was just lecturing in Nashville last weekend, and I was in my lecture, I said, look, any given day, most human beings have 29 pesticides in their body. Well, okay, what's that doing, right? And so we just need to understand that at any given time, you have chemicals in your body that aren't supposed to be there. They were not natural, not supposed to be there. They're going to disrupt your function. And we know that they're going to disrupt your gut function. And if they disrupt gut function, that's why I created the device. I wouldn't have needed to, because we're supposed to produce hydrogen gas. And here's me at the stage with hundreds of people listening and going, look, you're supposed to fart. And of course, everyone laughs their head off. They love it. But the reality is we should be producing 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen gas per day based on our diet. And most importantly, only if we have the right bacteria in the gut. And because I believe 97% of the population have dysfunctioning guts, I created these devices that will introduce hydrogen back into your body. And immediately you will feel more energy. You will feel better sleep. You'll feel, all kinds of things because hydrogen was supposed to be there in the first place. I know it's shocking to everyone, but I didn't discover hydrogen. It's been here for a long time, but you're supposed to produce it. You have a hydrogen generator in your body. The problem is it's been taken away from you. The keys were taken away from you to manufacture hydrogen. And so we not only can get it in your body to help you with oxidative stress and inflammation, blah, 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 but we can also help you fix your gut. And
so if I can maybe summarize my mind, maybe it's an antioxidant,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really way more than that. It's a secondary messenger.
Yes.
It's driving all these, basically there's so many, enzyme reactions we talked about. Well, yeah, you take an antioxidant, as
Yes.
soon as it gets used up, it's now an oxidant.
That's right.
And it's going to pull something from somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, your typical antioxidants are electron donors. And when you donate the electron, they become a pro-oxidant, just as you're saying. And so now that's a burden that your body has to get rid of. The beautiful thing is hydrogen. What really blew up hydrogen was in 2009 when Nature Medicine published that hydrogen was a selective antioxidant. And what they said was that it's selective because it only reaches and reacts with ROS, or reactive oxygen species. And they particularly mentioned hydroxyl radicals. Now, hydroxyl radicals are the most cell damaging or cytotoxic radical in the human body. And most importantly, they destroy cell function in the mitochondria. So you don't have proper ATP, you don't have energy. And so you feel tired. And this is one of the things they first noted. Well, guess what? Since then, there were maybe 100 studies. In 10 years, we now have 1,100 studies, hundreds of human studies, and 200 disease models that are benefited by hydrogen gas in the body. And literally, we already have studies charted for 2022 that are going to be published that are amazing pathology that are being affected. But again, it will go on forever because people are doing more and more studies, and all they're doing is figuring out why our bodies had a hydrogen generator in them in the first place, because it's critical to homeostasis, it's critical to life and health, and this is what we all need to understand. And so having hydrogen, even as simple as hydrochloric acid in your stomach, HCl in your stomach, remember there's an H there, so it's hydrogen. You can't have proper stomach acid without hydrogen. And so every aspect of the body requires hydrogen. And peptides, of course, require hydrogen. All of these things function together in a beautiful symphony in the body. And that's really is a huge biohack. When you talk about biohacking, or you talk about what can I do to have health, you drink water with hydrogen gas in it, and it's amazing what happens.
But I'm telling you, all these big breakthroughs, or some things get hot, whatever,
Yeah.
it's, look at the literature 40 years ago.
Right.
And it's things that get bypassed because Big Pharma took over and suppressed it. Even we talked about, the electricity of the body, how it's that we threw that away and just said, okay, we're the pharmacological model. And so many core concepts of medicine are just so now screwed up.
Yeah.
That I'm disgusted at the care that most people get, their standard care.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited about this, because this is a whole new understanding of hydrogen for me. And can you show, how would people be able to use this?
Well, we have everything. We have things as simple as just a sport bottle where you put water in and you push a button, and next thing you know, you'll see bubbles coming up. Out the bottom comes the oxygen, and in here you'll see a blue light come on, and next thing you know, bubbles are coming up. And that's simple, right? Because you can take them and go. And then we have machines that go into someone's home that can filter the water of all the stuff in the water that you don't want in your water, and then produce hydrogen water. So you asked the $1 million question: what's the difference of plain water and hydrogen water? Or what is it? It's simply this: you have H2O plus H2 gas. Kind of like if you have Perrier, you have H2O water plus CO2 gas. That's called carbonation. In our case, we're doing H2O water liquid with H2 gas riding along. So think, in our case, we're using water as a delivery vehicle for hydrogen gas to your body, because that's what will help you, is the hydrogen gas. The H2 molecule will help you from a brain, from a gut, from immune function, rapid immune function, and then repairing of the gut, which is huge for those that have gut issues and food allergies and all kinds of things. but we're using water as the delivery vehicle because that is the most effective mechanism of administration or way to get hydrogen into your body. But we have everything from a very inexpensive sport bottle that's rechargeable all the way to a machine that's going to make 4 types of water where you can kill E. coli, salmonella, MRSA, staph. So, we have everything possible for them based on their lifestyle, based on what they need, and we have many doctors' offices across the earth, many, many, many that have our equipment and are giving it to their patients and educating their patients on it so that they can have that. And then that their patients end up buying our equipment to have in their home because they don't want to just have the benefits when they go to the doctor's office. They want to have their benefits every day.
Or even, I just get the stuff, in a bottle.
Right.
So that little bottle would be equal to how many bottles of the tablets?
Well, you have each bottle of tablets is 60 uses, right? So each charge of this is 20 uses. So every time you recharge the battery, you use it 20 times until you have to recharge it. But you're going to be able to use this bottle for years, and you just keep making the water as much as
you get your return on investment pretty quickly
within the first month. Yeah.
And so, what is the optimal amount?
That's a good question. So what's been accepted as a therapeutic amount of hydrogen is 0.5 parts per million, half a part per million. Now, what in most of the studies, you see them drinking 900 ml per day in the study. So if you can have significant benefits in the body by simply getting hydrogen once per day, that's great. But when you have the ability to make it whenever you want, I would say, let's mimic the body. You would normally eat 3 times a day, and therefore you would produce hydrogen gas 3 times a day through fermentation, and you would end up having hydrogen gas throughout. And so I would say, let's mimic that, and let's have at least 3 times a day, 16 ounces, for example, of hydrogen water. And that'd be great. I think that would be wonderful.
Wow. And yeah, that's just amazing. I'm kind of mad at you now because now I'm going to have to spend all my time doing more research on hydrogen water. I know I'm going to be one of those like, damn, why isn't everyone talking about this?
Well, yeah, I've been lecturing on hydrogen since 2009. Everyone thought I was crazy. All of a sudden now I'm brilliant. And that's just the way it works in life.
You're a quack. And then even then they won't change when you're proven right. That's what keeps happening. And I think we have lots of great stuff that's happening in the integrative space. And they're moving very slowly in medicine. And it's just like study after study after study, and this group says this, but the standard group will never give in because they said it, and it's like la 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 la, and until it just becomes overwhelming, and then they'll kind of say, well, maybe you're right in the rare cases or something.
Yes.
Or I imagine you have so many people.
Well, the best resource they can go, if people don't understand hydrogen and they want to study it, it can be quite difficult because the studies, many of them are very, very scientific, but we have made the best resource in the world for studying hydrogen, and it's a website that is hydrogenstudies.com. So it's pretty simple. Hydrogen studies.
That makes sense. Right?
Yeah. I don't know how I came up with that name, but
there weren't. The artistic side didn't come out there.
But you can go to hydrogenstudies.com, and there's 1,104 studies indexed, and you can search by subject, by country, by years, by pathology, by condition. Doesn't matter. It's completely a searchable database, and you can go crazy because people go in there and they type in all kinds of stuff like skin spots, and it's there, right? Hydrogen helps with that. So there's many different things, people, crazy diseases, crazy things like innate immunity in zebrafish. Who would ever think there's a study? But there was a study on hydrogen showing that it increases.
That's what I found. You have to find these just crazy studies, and there's like one great nugget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get most doctors they don't even read the abstract, let alone the
Right.
and how long does it take for someone to feel a difference or notice a difference? And what types of patients do you see the biggest benefit in?
That's a great question. It really depends on the pathology, how quickly they'll feel it. If they have RA or joint issues, it's immediate. If they have neurologic issues like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's,
I'm just going to go back to that. So you say they have autoimmune disease,
yeah.
immediate. What do you mean by that?
Well, if they have rheumatoid arthritis, for instance, they're going to feel pain relief from their joint issues almost immediately.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're being recorded.
Yeah, I'm being recorded. Yeah, no problem.
Raise your right hand. And
so here's the deal. We have studies on RA, and not only did the hydrogen help, but it fixed. There was no reoccurrence after they stopped drinking the hydrogen, because it actually reduced the oxidative stress and inflammation, which is the cause of the issue. So this is what we need to understand. Hydrogen isn't a Band-Aid. Hydrogen is a fix. And that's what people need to understand. When we talk about Parkinson's, so when I do my lectures, I share a study on the hydroxyl radicals. I share a study on colon cancer. Because why do I share that study on colon cancer? Because when cancer takes over a cell, apoptosis is no longer active. And apoptosis, for those of you that don't know what that is, it means that the cell would destroy itself. Apoptosis means the cell destroys itself if it's duplicating inappropriately. Somehow, we don't know why, but when cancer takes over a cell, apoptosis is stopped, and that's how cancer thrives. Well, we don't understand fully, but hydrogen benefits apoptosis, restarts that process so the cells destroy themselves. And funny enough, the study on colon cancer was done by the company that makes chemotherapy drug 5-fluorouracil. So interestingly enough, they wanted to find out what happens when you combine hydrogen gas at the same time using a chemotherapy drug. And what they found is that it was 100% cancer cell death. But in the study, it says that hydrogen water can inhibit. So literally the end of the study says hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer, especially when combined with 5-fluorouracil. And so it's a great study because they were looking at naturally occurring hydrogen water on Mount Fuji versus hydrogen water from, device R's that is producing more hydrogen in the water than would be the natural hydrogen water on Mount Fuji in Japan. And they were looking at all these things. The other study that I show is diabetes. And why do I do that? Because not only do you see 80% of the individual diabetes normalized, but you see cholesterol reduced by 15.5% systemically. Again, this is another understanding that
how many drugs you've just eliminated while we're
right.
Yeah, do you want to take chemotherapy drug for
just
kill your immune system?
Right. And so we can go on and on. I share a study on athletes, how there was no lactate buildup in the muscle for those that were soccer players. There were, soccer players in their 20s. And when they would drink the water half an hour before exercise, there would be no fatigue or no lactate buildup. So I share Parkinson's, for example. There was another study I shared on Parkinson's, which at the end it says hydrogen has a disease modifying effect with Parkinson's. This is huge language. Normally, it might say something like possibility.
It's rare to get them to say that.
Yeah. And so what we need to understand is it's the jury's not out. The jury's in. The FDA gave GRAS status 7 years ago now, on water with hydrogen in it. They gave GRAS status, meaning it's generally recognized as safe. You've got 1,100 studies from all the countries in the world. And these studies were not paid for. They were done by universities, hospitals, medical centers.
Huge difference.
Yeah. No one's paying for these, except for the one with 5-fluorouracil, but no one's paying for these studies. It's just wanting to understand science and how the body was supposed to function in the first place. But it's funny to me because they are treating it like it's new. And I'm like, guys, your gut was supposed to be producing this in the first place. So I kind of do a tongue in cheek a little bit. But the reality is people can understand, and there's never a guarantee with any study, as you know, but people can understand what they could potentially experience. And so I would tell you, it's typically pretty quick. Now, the healthier you are, the less problems you have. It's going to take you a little longer to feel or palpate something or to experience something. The more issues you have, the faster, because your body is going to have a tool it hasn't had in a long time. And that's important to understand about any modality. The less issue you have nothing, you have no point of reference. But I can tell you that for me, when I began drinking it, 17 years ago, I didn't sprout wings and fly. I didn't levitate off the ground. But what I noticed, and I was extremely healthy, and I've never had a disease model. I've never had it. Very lucky when it comes to health. What I noticed is I needed less sleep. That's what I personally noticed, is that I had more energy. I needed less sleep, and I woke up. It was like a switch, right? You're just on. And those things were great. And so, and you asked me, what do people notice? Most people noticed increased energy right away, more clarity of mind. They don't get tired in the afternoon. If they have specific issues, they notice those issues going away. Another big one is eyesight improvement. Whether they have diabetes or not, you see an increase of eyesight. I personally have 2015 and 2010, and I have excellent vision, but I had a 70-year-old the other day who had acid reflux for the last 5 years of his life, and he was taking, obviously, Tums for that. And he said, Paul, I've had your sport bottle, your Echo Go, now for a month, and I haven't had acid reflux since I began drinking your water the very first day. So it's not cancer, but it's acid reflux, which is high.
Acid reflux affects almost half the country.
Yeah. And I think that if you're depleted in hydrogen production and you give the body hydrogen, you're not going to have acid reflux anymore. It's not a miracle. It's just science, right? It's just plain science. But that's what he experienced at 70 years old, no acid reflux. And he said after 2 weeks, his eyesight improved to the point that he went to the optometrist and said, I can't see as well with my glasses. And she said, that's because your eyes have improved. I got to decrease your prescription.
Of course, she never asked, what did you do?
She did ask, and he told her, and she was like, well, okay, cool.
Okay. What I asked. That's interesting. So it's interesting. I'm putting together a talk on longevity senolytics. It's a senolytic. And it seems to me that it, like you're saying, energy, I think mitochondria, that picture comes to mind where, and sometimes we'll do mitochondrial peptides, it'll stop working.
Yeah.
Because I think they kind of used up their hydrogen.
Yes.
And they're the
proton pump, right?
Yeah. And
well, the other thing, I'm assuming you're involving telomerase or telomere length in your lecture.
Yeah.
So there is a study on, and I'll send it to you. It's on NRF1, NRF2, SIRT1, and telomerase activity in the body. And basically, when you're drinking hydrogen water, you're going to increase your telomere length, which is obviously telling you it's anti-aging. So,
and interesting, and all the SIRTs now are the hot topic, and there's sirtuins and that. Wow, well, this is great, and it just it kind of blows me away that you gotta know about something. And I guess one of those things: the more you know you don't know. But the more I like it, the more I think it feels more important. So I'm getting one for my house, for the office, and also the travel. So
awesome.
It makes sense,
Yes.
And how do people find you?
Well, our website is synergyscience.com, SYNERGY science.com. That's our main website. And then, of course, you have the hydrogen studies with an S.com, which you can do research on. There are also studies on our site, but there's not 1,100 like on the other one. But you can learn. You can check out the machines. The easiest way to do it is when you get to the site, you can look at the hydrogen, or you can just go to the shop page, because it's going to give you a lot of detail about each and every machine. But please understand, you can also call us. We have a toll-free number. We have a chat on there. Just, you can call and ask questions, but we understand.
Well, some doctors on, and some general public, also general public, actually,
Yeah.
So sounds like you can get them to doctors, and
Oh yeah,
patients can get them.
that's our main focus. Just in the last week, we've picked up 30 functional MD offices in the last 7 days that are implementing our technology into their offices so they can educate their patients. We have Synergy Science University, which teaches you everything about hydrogen, and you get a certificate that prints out. We have many, many medical professionals that are educating their patients on a daily basis. So that patient not only gets a discount on our products, but they can have improved health. And this is where our focus as a company is getting medical professionals educated and understanding how to talk to.
I think that's the way to go, because education's the key, and it's just so hard to educate so many people. And it makes sense. Well, now I know what I'm doing this weekend. I mean, we're evening study, no, because it's fascinating. So
Yeah, thank you.
give me your website one more time.
Synergyscience.com. So SYNERGY. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this was just wonderful, and thank you for taking the time and educating us. And I guess I am a nerd. I'm excited about this, and I'm trying to picture all the pathways that are involved with hydrogen. There's a lot. So,
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. I tell you, one of the neatest experience I ever had, I had a doctor that came to our booth at a show we were exhibiting at, and he had Parkinson's. So he's coming up with tremors, right? He had tremors in both hands. He couldn't even hold the glass hardly for the water. 10 minutes later, he comes back with his hands still and said, I have tingling in my brain and my hands are still. What did you do to me? And I said, ghrelin secretions just went to your brain, your hippocampus, your hypothalamus, and your brainstem. He goes, I'm feeling tingling in my brain. I said, in a few minutes, it'll be down to your feet. Just understand it's working its through your system. And sure enough, he came back about 30 minutes later. I said, it's in my feet, like you said it would be. He goes, this is amazing. My hands are still, I haven't felt this clarity in a long time. I mean, I cried with him. What are you going to do? Right? Like you see this medical doctor who walks up with his hands in his pocket because he's embarrassed, right?
yeah.
And it's honestly an amazing moment that even now thinking about it, I get a little bit choked up because this man's life was changed as a doctor, because here he's treating other people and he didn't know what to do for himself.
Well, yeah, doctors don't live as long as other people. So it's kind of like going to a poor person for financial advice, right?
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
But yeah, I just love all the stories as well. And it does seem too, like you think of so many models of aging and dysfunction comes down to mitochondria, inflammation, and hypothalamic pituitary, hippocampal. I mean, the one study where they just had rats in the middle of a box, or they stuck a cell phone in there and put them in there for 3 weeks or so and sacrificed them. And they found that hippocampal degeneration.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's crazy. Oh, just real quick. I know we're out of time here, but EMF protection.
Okay. So we have a device that's different from anything else in the world. We are not blocking the signal. I think that's foolish to try. It's almost impossible to block the field. People are still wanting their technology. So you can't block the field. What we need to do, and this is what we do, we have a device that depolarizes the radiation and lowers signal strength, not completely, but between 74 and 80%, so that you don't have the voltage in the air that you normally have. So typically, if we were to look in someone's house where they have Wi-Fi, cellular, whatever, they're going to have 3 volts per meter of electricity in the air. We will reduce that down below 1 volt per meter with our devices. So you still can carry on a phone conversation, still do your Netflix, do whatever you want to do with your wireless technology, but don't be harmed by it. That's really what we're accomplishing. So
polarization is the big problem, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we're depolarizing, and people that are electrosensitive, these are people that can feel Wi-Fi when they enter into a building. They can no longer tell if you have Wi-Fi on or off when you enter that space, when you have our technology there. So it's a significant.
Great. They just like totally blinded, walk in the room, the heart rate goes up to 140.
Yeah. And it won't happen that way anymore. So that's what our device does. You don't plug it in. It creates its own electricity inside. We have vials of liquid that are conductive liquid in them, and they're all tied together, and they create a small electrical charge and an electrical field. And you choose the device by the size of the area you want to treat. So we have devices that are 3 inches by 5 inches that do one person. We have one like you can
Do you carry that around, or what do you do?
You can. It's pretty small. It's like I said, 3 inch by 5 inch by less than an inch thick. You could put it in a pocket or a purse.
Or on your desk or something, I guess.
Yeah, like behind me, you see that device right there, the copper one.
Yeah,
Where my finger's pointing to. So that's our key shield. That'll do 16 by 16 foot area. So anything in that area, 225 square feet, is now handled. Then we have a bigger one of those that will do a 50 foot by 50 foot area, and then up 16 feet and down 16. So it'll do like a 3-story home. And then we have the big one called the Key Max that will do 328 feet by 328 feet. So it's 100,000 square feet on one level. And the field goes up 100 feet and down. So it's up to a 20-story commercial building with 100,000 square feet on each level. That is up to 2 million square feet. So we have a device that will do that for big.
And
big houses.
I should have asked at the beginning, are you a chemical engineer? Or are you?
No, I'm a medical professional. I'm an ND, but I've been a podorthist and a bunch of stuff that I've done in my life, but I don't do patient care any longer. I just focus on developing products that fix people.
Well, great. Again, we went over, which I did not expect. We're talking about some hydrowater question. And so thank you. I think it was a great interview, and I'm sure all our listeners, doctors and patients just learned something pretty cool for their health. So
Yeah.
I thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Peptides and Longevity podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners passionate about optimizing their health. For more insights, resources, and updates, visit our website at www.holtorfmed.com. Together, let's embrace a future of health and vitality. Until next time, stay inspired and keep thriving.